For today, like I said, I'm just going to talk on just my life and just me trying to find meaning and purpose in my life. It the journey for me started in my late teens. I was asking myself, um, what's my life's meaning? Like why am I here? Like what am I destined for? What am I meant to be doing with my life? And for me, I started to think of when I thought of meaning, it was equating to my purpose or my significance. What is that one thing? Oh, that's how I was thinking of it, at least anyway. What's that one thing I'm meant to be doing, and what impact would that have? So this is not so much life or the existence or the meaning of human existence. This is more specific to me, and I started to think of, okay, yeah, maybe in the job title, if I climb up to the highest I can get to, then my life would have meaning. Or maybe my financial status, how much I could earn. And I went to extreme lengths to make money. Some of the things I can't even share, but yeah, they're not legal because I thought that would give me meaning. I thought maybe it was in relationship status. So I would date people and have sex with so many people. And I thought, yes, surely I'll be able to find meaning in that. Um, I quickly realized all of that was not giving me meaning or purpose. There was still a gap, regardless of where I was. And I was a young man, but I was working hard and I was climbing in my career. I was climbing professionally. So I knew I would succeed in whatever I did, but there was still that gap on the inside. I still felt empty, like my job title didn't do it. Making money didn't do it. Relationships didn't do it. And I'm sure a lot of you would agree that, these things, you probably know people who are doing very well financially, who are doing well, with careers, but there's still a void in their life. And for me, at an early age, I think that was, again, I'm not saying I had attained much, but where I was, I thought there was a gap and I was missing something. And I remember I said the journey started for me in my late teens. And the reason that journey started in my late teens is when I was 16, I lost my dad. So I pretty much watched him die. And so it was an interesting. I remember it so well. My immediate brother, elder brother, and I, we went to just the shop not too far from the hospital to buy some stuff. This is where in Nigeria at the time, and he was ill. He was really ill, and we didn't know he was gonna die. So I remember he died on a Saturday morning. I remember the Friday night we stayed in the hospital all night because we were just worried. We rushed into the hospital and everything, and we slept in the car because we didn't want to leave. Like we just didn't want to leave him there. So anyway, we were there. Then we went to the shop the Saturday morning, came back. My brother-in-law and my sister had gone back home to get my mom, and when they got my mom in, my mom came to the hospital and they were taking her into the ward he was in. And my immediate elder brother and I were going to go in, but then my brother-in-law and one of my uncles said no. So I got really angry, like, but because I just thought, well, he's ill, but I didn't realize he was close to dying in that moment. So my mom went in and my sister was telling me afterwards that when my mom went in and he heard her voice, he kind of looked to her direction, smiled, and then that was it. He died. And when I started to think of my life and what meaning was for me, and even fast forward into when he was buried and just the things that people said, and most of what they said wasn't to do with his position in life, wasn't to do with how much money he had or any of his accomplishments. Most of what was said was how he made people feel, what he did for people, how he contributed to people. And I was like, oh my God, I am my perspective on life and purpose was really wrong because I was looking at position, because I thought, well, my dad was comfortable and well off, so surely if I'm comfortable and well off, then I would have meaning or purpose to life. But it wasn't that. That wasn't what people said when he died. It was more of what he did for them, how he helped people, how he put people's children through school, how he gave a church a building to use for rent-free, how he helped this family and that family, even when they would be mean and horrible to him, how he kept going. And I realized that at that stage, I think I was nearing my 24, 25 years old at the time. I then realized that really that life for me, or meaning for me, was more than the material things. It didn't help that obviously society around me reinforced the fact that if you have more, or if you own this, or if you're at this position, your life has meaning. If you think about it, when you meet someone for the first time, the questions that you would be asked of you is normally, or you would ask them, is, what's your name? The next thing is usually, what do you do? These are questions that we would usually ask people, or would be asked of us. And when we ask the question, what do you do? Or when they ask the question of us, what do we do? We usually respond with a job title. So I am a doctor, I am a nurse, I'm a scientist, I'm a banker, I'm a, whatever it is you do. So we're really telling them a position as opposed to what we really do. And I realized these questions were very focused, we're self-focused. Who are you? What's your name? And, what do you do? Even now with the pandemic season that we've been in and the clap for the NHS, and that's amazing. I'm happy people are doing that. But I was saying to my wife, how about the delivery drivers who are taking food to our shops, driving overnight to make sure that we have food on our shelves? How about them? Because they're putting their lives on the line. How about the people who are serving us? Why are we not clapping for them? I work in the NHS, so I'm happy people are clapping for us. But society subconsciously elevates or makes us feel that your life is meaningful or purposeful if you have certain positions. And if you're probably bottom down there, if you're a security guard, then maybe you need to work harder. And for me, that was a problem. Like I said, I realized that early on. So I started to think, okay, how do I respond to these questions when people ask me these questions? So question one, what's your name? I felt that spoke to my identity. So that's fine. My name is Iroro Agba. I'm proud of my heritage. I'll tell you what that is. Question two, however, responding with a job title, I felt didn't really capture the essence of who I really am. So I started to think, how can I respond that would give the whoever is asking a clear idea of the contributions or the impact that I am making to the people that I am doing it to or for, as opposed to this is what I do. This is the contribution and the impact what I do has on the people I do it to or do it for. So that is how I started to respond to that question. And that for me was a really life-changing moment, because it wasn't now about my title. It wasn't now about my position. It was the things I do. How does that make people feel? How does that help someone around me? And I say that with the caveat, obviously, Reverend Sonia said last week, we need to also look at, be mindful and look after ourselves. And there is that, that is with that caveat. But in the broad scheme of things, what contribution am I making to the people I come in contact with? That's why we're here today. There's a group of people who are leveraging their influence, leveraging their position, their resources, so that we can be better. And so for me, meaning and purpose shifted from what I did or what I owned to how I was leveraging that to help others. That was how my parents lived. I remember a time my mom was going to a prayer meeting. Now, moms in the house, well, thank God for our moms who pray, because boy, those prayers have really helped save a lot of us and get us out of trouble. When my mom was going, now I'm from a family of 8, right? So 6 boys and 2 girls, my mom and my dad. So 10 of us in the house. Of 10 people, just my mom was going to the prayer meeting. The rest of us 9 heathens who were at home doing whatever it was we were doing. So my mom was going to the prayer meeting that evening, and we knew the prayer meeting starts at 6:30, and doesn't finish till 7:30. So she'll come home maybe by 7:45. So we knew what time she'll be back. But so she left the house by 6. But by 6:20, she was coming back. We're like, hold on a second. Did they cancel the meeting? And this is the day when there wasn't mobile phones, so surely no one called us. And we're like, oh, that's strange. Why is mom coming back so soon? But behind her was a family of 7. On her way to the prayer meeting, there was a house that got burnt down, and the family of 7, the mom and dad and 5 kids, were just trying to rescue all their possessions as much as they could. And they were out on the street. My mom said to them, we've got space in the house. Now, remember, there's already 10 of us. My mom said to them, get your stuff and come back with me. And this family stayed with us for almost 2 years. That was how my parents lived. It was amazing that I was around that, but I drifted away from what meaning truly was to what society and what I thought meaning was. For me, a life of meaning moved from not just what I have, not just my position, but how I can live out. Ricky has spoken so well about going in, and I agree with that. I had to go in to really find what truly is meaning for me, what is purpose for me. And once I discovered that well, I realized I couldn't be complete with owning stuff or having stuff until that begins to feed into rivers and begins to bless people as I go along. Now, even at work, I'm thinking, I share with Ricky all the time. My work now for me is like, it's not just work, it's like counseling for me. People that are not my direct reports would come to my office and sit down and talk about their challenges, problems at home, or relationships, or miscarriages or abuse. And I'm like, my God, why do they feel comfortable to tell me this? And I realized is because, thankfully, I started to live out. How could I really ask someone the question, how are you? And really mean it, how are you? And be interested to hear a response, not just saying it because I feel it's something I had to say. I realized that my self-worth wasn't in my net worth. My position and what I owned didn't define my meaning or purpose. It was their tools that I can leverage to feed my purpose. So I'm not saying, please don't hear me say we shouldn't work harder, we shouldn't climb up, or we shouldn't, no, I'm not saying that. Yes, we should, but if it's with the sole intention that we would get these things so that we can feed out, then by all means, go all out, get rich, by whatever, do whatever you feel you need to do. But for me, that was true meaning for me. That is what I saw being modeled, even though my parents never sat me down to tell me. When I look back, true meaning was living out. So I guess what I would like, the questions I would like for you to think on is, what are you good at? And then beyond that, how can that serve those around you? Because I think that would, for me anyway, meaning now or purpose wasn't just getting to that one thing. Because at different stages in my life, I've done different things. I've worked in the pizza shop. I've worked in another fast food place. I've worked as a security guard. I've worked in sales. I've worked in a phone shop. I've worked as customer service. Now I'm doing what I do. So, but at any stage I'm in, whatever I'm doing, and maybe as I get older, I will transition into something else. But my meaning doesn't change. My purpose doesn't change. My job titles may change. My positions may change. But how I make people feel and how I contribute to people should never change. Because as I get more resources, as a matter of fact, as I get more resources, it means I should be able to do more. So at the core of it, wanting to be a stream never changes. And my meaning, I realized, was never tied to my position or what I have. And that's why even now, when people ask me what I do, I'm always I don't like to lead with a title, because it's not about the title. I lead with how I contribute. It's a longer answer, but actually it's a more interesting answer, because now they're curious. Actually, what do you do actually? And it gets the conversation going. I am done. I hope this has been helpful to you, but this is just my life's journey, and thank you for listening to it.
So let's practice this. Let's role play this. So Iroro, what do you do?
I use my resources and talents to help people discover their purpose and make next steps.
Fantastic. You see, now we could go on and say, who do you do that for?
So I do that with young people. I do that with people I meet in work, and even with my family as well.
Okay. So what do those people want and need?
Well, their needs differ. So I always have to start with knowing the person, because people's needs, even when they're from the same background or even the same family, there's always nuances. So their needs always differ, but it starts with me really getting to know them.
Okay. And how do they change as a result of engaging with you?
That would be a question that would be a better place to answer. But I think once they can take a next step, or they feel like they're realizing what they have on the inside, because I'm not really giving them anything. I'm just journeying with them to help them discover what's already in them. And once they're able to see that, then the possibilities is endless for them.